My name is Jeff Badu, and I'm a licensed certified public accountant. I'm a serial entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier, and I'm the founder and CEO of Badu Enterprises, which is a multinational conglomerate in the financial industry. We provide a suite of services including taxes, tax preparation, financial consulting, credit repair services, all that good stuff. And today I'm here with a special guest, Mr. Joshua Berngard. Can you please just, really quickly do a mic check, Josh?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can you hear me now?
So we'll have Josh on the show. He's our special guest for today, and we'll be talking about real estate. Really, just wanted to touch upon the real estate market. His opinion on what's his outlook on real estate. What's going on right now? Is it a good time to buy? Should you hold? Should you sell? Should you rent? We'll be talking about everything real estate today. It is buying season, essentially. Springtime. Usually a lot of people, or I would say more people, are buying in the springtime. So I thought it would be very appropriate, especially with tax season wrapping up, tax refunds coming in. Hopefully everyone has received their refund, to those who are due refunds. But before we kick that off, let's start with a market report. So this report is as of March 29, 2019. So here's what happened. Stocks rebounded last week to close the final week of March and the first quarter in the black. Each of the benchmark indexes ultimately gained over 1% for the week, except the global Dow, which inched ahead less than 0.2%. Year to date, the tech-heavy Nasdaq leads the way, followed by the small caps of the Russell 2000, the S&P 500, the Dow, as well as the global Dow. Technology shares jumped, as did energy stocks, on the heels of rising oil prices. While stock prices rose, long-term bond yields fell because there's an inverse relationship. As yields fall as bond prices rise. As investors' demand pushed bond prices higher. Ultimately, oil prices climbed higher last week, $58.97 per barrel, up to $60.19 per barrel. Price of COMEX gold went down $13.40 to $12.97. So far, year to date, the Dow Jones is up 11.15%. Nasdaq is up 16.49%. S&P 500 is up 13.07%. Russell 2000 up 14.18%, and then the global Dow is up 9.65%. Benchmark index or benchmark interest rates have not changed since last year, so we're still at 2.25% to 2.5%. And the Federal Reserve has indicated that they probably will not increase interest rates this year, which is only good news for investors because that leads to more money being invested. With that being said, I'd like to give a brief introduction of Mr. Joshua Berngard, who is the president and founder of Buzzer Real Estate, a boutique residential real estate company with a specialization in divorce, elder care, and veteran-related residential real estate transactions for buyers, or for buying, selling, and leasing. The nature of these unique dealings requires a distinct knowledge base, refined processes, and a heightened sense of understanding to effectively navigate the complex circumstances presented by each. In addition to his real estate practice, Joshua also owns MC Joshy B. Basically what he does is he flies across the country to serve as a master of ceremonies for countless high-profile events. Little known fact is that he was a dancer for the Jenny Jones show, where he got the live audience revved up before the cameras went live. So you will find him to be incredibly knowledgeable about his industry and a delightfully engaging guy. He's very engaging. And I'm sure you'll enjoy your time with him. With that being said, how's everything going, Josh?
Yeah, feeling good. Great intro. I appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem, man. So yeah, definitely thank you for coming out to speak to to the audience today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And for those that don't know, we're live on WJC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. This is Money Talks, where all we talk is money. So if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free. We are live on Facebook. You can find me on my Facebook Live, Jeff Badu on Facebook. You can also call into the station. Studio line is 773-942-7167. Once again, 773-942-7167. So if you have any questions or anything like that, we'll be able to take it via Facebook Live, and also being able to call into the studio. But definitely thank you, Josh. It's an honor, a pleasure to be able to receive information, such valuable information that you're going to share with our listeners today. So just before we get into the questions, and this is more of a Q&A, we'll just be asking some questions. We'll be getting some insight. And please, if you do have any questions, any comments, anything like that, please do not hesitate to ask any questions you may have. I'll be able to view all of the questions and anything like that. So please chime in. But before we do that, I gave a background, or I gave a bio. But if you just want to, just share a few things with the audience, just, maybe a little bit more about yourself, and then maybe just something that we don't necessarily know about.
Sure, yeah. Let's build some trust, people. Ready for this? So when I first started the industry, I was a lender back in the heyday, right? We've all heard about it in 2004, 2005, and then the industry crashed. When the industry actually ended up crashing, and again, you guys hopefully have seen the movies and seen all that, I got into property management of strip malls, of private homes, and for me that wasn't the path that I wanted, but I understood a lot of it. It lasted about 8.5 months, and I was like, no thank you. So it's such an unthankful job, right? Do this, I want this, like fix this, but never like, oh, thanks for doing it. So I was like, hey, this is not for me. From there, I ended up going into commercial lending, and learning that side of the business because retail was on fire at that time. And once again, as we all know, strip malls, strip malls and retail is going down in regards to people renting it. And so the business just started going down. I was like, all right, I got to get out of this now. So when I got out, a friend of mine actually owned a free apartment finding service off of Foster and Lincoln. And he's like, can you help me? Like, whenever you want. Obviously outside I was still dancing and emceeing and doing all the stuff that he just mentioned that, right? So I started doing just that on the weekends and on nights, and the times that I wasn't playing around at the beach in the middle of summer, I was renting apartments, and I just fell in love with the industry. Shortly after that, I had some insight, and I said, I want to do this. I think we should do it this way. He was like, no. And I said, all right. Went outside, got my other license that I needed, opened up Buzzer Real Estate for myself, by myself, and you were talking about numbers. Took a loan out in less than 3 months. I was able to literally go from having a loan to paying it off completely. I was in the black ever since.
Wow.
I've been so blessed to be in that position. Grew a company of 52 agents, and now we just merged and we opened up 2 offices, one on 73 in Cottage, which just opened up actually today. As you guys are watching this on Facebook Live and listening to me, there is an on-site party going on right now, but I wanted to be here with you guys. So 73 Cottage Grove, and then our new office, and it's not new, but new to us, is now off of North Avenue in Western. It's 2235 West North Avenue, and we're 250 agents strong out of that office alone.
Wow, that is awesome. That is definitely awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate, listening to fellow entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself, so to be able to hear this type of success story is awesome. So definitely, one of very few, I would say, entrepreneurs that's actually out doing something that's, actually making it, they call it.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Now, do want to get into the questions. I know we started the show a little late, but just want to get into the real estate market. So, me personally, I'm very biased towards real estate. I love real estate. I bleed real estate. If you were to cut me right now, you notice that real estate is in my blood. Literally, if the DNA would show that, real estate is in the blood. So for me, I'm a little biased towards real estate. So I love real estate, especially as a CPA, as an accountant. I love it. I love holding on to it, and I love teaching people about it, and I love the tax benefits it offers. So the first question really here is, what is your outlook on the real estate market? I mean, what Like, what have you seen so far this year? You know, any surprises? Like, what is your overall outlook on the real estate market? At least in Chicago. Let's just keep it to Chicago.
I'll focus here, not a problem. So the first thing is surprising. 2019 January was a surprising outcome, Jeff. I'm upsetting. Right, I'm getting choked up. It was the worst numbers we've seen in almost 10 years.
Wow.
Right. Everything was low. No one knew what was going on, and for some reason, no one decided to buy. So it was the lowest numbers to the point where I didn't even post it on my social media at all. I held it back, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. Now, February, March I can't give you. It just ended, right?
Right.
But we saw in February a huge spike. I mean, It was dramatic, and we're back to again, I would say a normal market, if you will, if not even a little bit better than that.
Okay.
So the market is on the rise. And what's so great right now, just like you said, you bleed real estate, the idea is that interest rates right now dropped from January to literally last week, and they went up a little bit today, but we're talking about pennies on the dollar, but we're talking about under 4.5%, even if you're not in good standing as on your credit and income and debt to income and all that kind of good stuff. So I think very positive 2019 on the way up. It is definitely the buying season, like you said. It is definitely people, and you know, it's funny. It's cold in Chicago. People can look at any point in time, but they choose not to go out during the winter.
Exactly.
And so this is where it's like we've seen those few days of 50s and 40s, and everyone's like, okay, I'll go out, and they see the open house signs, and they start walking in, and you know, that's what's been happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, me personally, honestly, I've seen the same thing. I had 2 properties on the market, and they were listed, ironically, in December. It's probably one of the worst months to list a property, in my opinion. Literally. I mean, it was activity, but just nothing really. So, like, what is the cause of, like, why did January kick off so badly? And why are we seeing a spike other than the fact that interest rates are going down and the weather's getting nicer?
Yeah. So I would say because it's January, that is the reason why. And normally January is slow, but not this slow.
Right.
And let's be completely honest. It's because in some October, November, and December, we are in the holiday spirit. We're not thinking. A lot of people take their credit cards out. They start swiping. Debt to income ratio goes a little unfavorable for anyone looking to buy a home. Yeah. I think that's the first thing. And then January hits. Everyone has these New Year's resolutions and goals and all of this, and sometimes they just don't get out. Now this year, again, just we've had the polar vortex before. It's gonna slow things down. We just, as an industry, and even myself, I didn't think it was going to go that far. I really did not see the numbers that I thought I was going to see. And so, but I think that was the point, because interest rates are so low, but because of that, and we're not even talking about Chicago, by the way, interest rates, let's be completely honest, and since we're doing a little teaching here, interest rates are not based on Chicago or even Illinois, right? We're talking about it nationwide.
Exactly.
They realized a slowdown was happening, period, and so they yanked back to hopefully stimulate us to say, listen, please go back out there, buy a good investment.
Exactly.
Here we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So would you, I think you kind of answered this question, but just to confirm, would you say right now, you know, April 1st, and this is not an April Fool's joke, happy April Fool's, by the way. Would you say April 1st is a good time to buy, or like this time of the year is a great time to buy?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I believe any time is a good time to buy.
Right.
Right? And I say that because there's you know, real estate comes and goes, right? People think, oh, is this a good time? Is this a bad time? I would say when it's your time, it is your time.
Exactly.
And why is now a good time? As I just mentioned, interest rate. The buying power comes from your interest rate, unless you are uber rich and you don't need a loan. And in that case, then any time is a good time to buy, because you know, you can get a good deal. However, you right now, well, let's be completely honest, if interest rates keep rising, even on the quarter, so even last week, I could have given you more money, right? Somebody at a bank would have given you more money last week than they would today. Because Friday was over, and for some reason this morning they decided to raise, and now they just cut off whatever money you just had. So I think that right now, definitely a good time to buy, and prices are not soaring right now.
Got it. Okay, that's definitely a great answer. Definitely appreciate that. Now, the next question here is, and this is more about the process of buying a home. So we know it's a good time to buy. We know polar vortex and all that is gone, you know, and the market is slowly rising. But who's the very first person? And I mean, like, the very first person you should contact when you're starting a home buying process.
Yeah, I would say either you,
Mm-hmm.
yes, call Jeff, right? And let's be honest, any tax professional, a CPA, an accountant, talk to your accountant first. After that, the next step would be to say a lender.
Awesome, and that's the answer that I was looking
Yes,
for. Actually.
yeah.
So
Well, you need money, and so the idea is talk to your accountant since you're here, right? You gotta give you props, everybody. Give them a green. Call the station, and then afterwards, gotta be the lender. And the lender, why? You won't know what you can buy until a lender actually gives you that answer.
Right, that pre-approval.
Correct. You need
Absolutely.
a pre-approval letter, and they're going to go through your finances. And anyone that comes to me first, which sometimes they do, it's the first question out of my mouth.
Right. How much can you afford?
Yeah, because the worst, honestly, the worst feeling in the world is this. Somebody comes to me, and they're like, oh my God, I've been looking online, I've been looking on your website, and I found these 6 homes, I'm so excited. And let's just say it's worth $350,000. And all of a sudden I say, hey Jeff, have you been pre-approved? And I'm like, no, what do you mean? And I'm like, you don't even know what you can afford. And then we go back to their lender, their bank, a loan officer, whatever, and they realize they can't get the 350, 405 to 100,000 they thought they can get.
Exactly.
And now they're looking. Now that they have a number, we go back out and we start looking at things. And they were so set on whatever that X amount could have purchased for them that it's very hard for anyone to get over because you set yourself up with failure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Then who's the next person after that?
Me.
There you go.
I mean, that's what you need. We got to go out and take a look and negotiate.
Absolutely. So that's there you go. So he said the accountant first, you know, the person that's handling the numbers or financial advisor. Then you talk to the lender to see how much you can actually afford. And then you talk to, you talk to the realtor, which Josh is a realtor, or he owns a real estate company. Now, and this isn't even on a list, but it just came to mind. Really quickly, who would you like? What's your opinion about the whole house hacking strategy? Buy a home, basically lease it out, rent it out, live in one unit, rent out the other units. What's your opinion on that?
It is the bloodline of my own business. So I stand by that cold-heartedly. If in fact you have the opportunity and the ability to become a landlord in a home that you actually rent and own, I think is one of the best ways of doing it. For a few reasons. One, you have income, someone helping you pay your own mortgage.
Exactly.
Right? Not only, it's not even a roommate. They're living underneath you or
right.
on the side of you or whatever.
Yeah, it's
and
an
they're
apartment
helping
building.
you. Exactly. So it's like, who doesn't want that? Okay. And then the other thing is, when you decide to move on, right, you have more of an asset to sell. Whether it be now you want to be able to sell too, or you want to get out completely, or you leave and now you have an income property. You have people paying your mortgage and hopefully making money, but if not just paying your mortgage, because it's still, there's 2 conversations here. One of them is that the asset itself, being the home, is going, to make money from month to month to month, right? Year after year, it will increase. So you have that opportunity, or you just have someone, if you really, purchase at a place where you didn't get that great of a deal, then someone might be paying you off your mortgage alone, and in that case, they're still paying off your mortgage.
Right, they're building you equity.
You got it.
Exactly. And that's the power of real estate. That's one of the things, one of the keys. Basically a tenant that's paying down your mortgage. I would say when you're calculating your cash flow, your monthly income, that is something you want to factor in. You might only be making $100, $200 a month, but man, when somebody's paying your mortgage, paying down your principal, that's huge. That's powerful. After let's say 15 to 30 years or so, house is paid off free and clear. You can refinance it, pull out some equity, sell it, take some long-term capital gains, all that good stuff. So that's the power. One of the powerful things of real estate that I love. It's an asset, and real estate can really last hundreds of years, pretty much. I mean, as long as you're maintaining it. Now, according to the IRS, they think it only lasts 27 and a half years, which of course, somebody basically sued them and said, hey, why is my real estate being depreciated so long? Or why is it not being depreciated at all? This thing only lasts me 27 and a half years. But in reality, real estate tends to appreciate, first of all, and then it also lasts a pretty long time as long as you're taking pretty good care of it.
Yeah, I mean, what other investments? This is a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What true other investment? And let's just use the bottom here. You said $100 a month that they would be cash flowing.
Exactly.
Where else can you guarantee yourself that you're going to make that money? The stock market, as you just discussed, goes up, it goes down. It's this craziness. So you have an investment, like you said, that guarantees you. It might only be $100, right?
Right, just
but
$100.
it's a guaranteed $1,200 per year.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, I would say, I don't know any other investment that you can touch, you can hold it, you can control. I think that was one of the biggest factors, and this is one of the things. Every time I reminisce about my book that I wrote, Legendary Assets: 6 Reasons Why You Should Own Real Estate. One of the things that I did not mention in there, and this is a huge benefit, is that you get to control the asset. With a stock, you don't really have control. You control how much money you put in there. You control how much you take out. But other than that, what control do you have over the company itself? When it comes to real estate,
0.
Exactly. So that's the thing that I really like about real estate, is the fact that you actually get to control the asset. Control is everything. They say own nothing, control everything, and control is everything. So that's definitely appreciate that. Now, just so people can understand, we're in this world where people are just becoming do-it-yourselfers, DIYers, so they call it. They're doing their own plumbing, they're doing their own taxes, and God forbid they're doing their own real estate without any representation whatsoever. So how much do you charge a buyer when you represent them on a transaction?
0. Not 1 penny. As a matter of fact, I usually give them some stuff.
Really?
Yes.
Man. So yeah, well, there you have it. And for some reason, I don't know, this is a myth, this is a thing out there. And I fell victim of this. I didn't know that a realtor, for at least like 99% of buyers, that a real estate agent that represents a buyer, like, you don't actually pay them. It's the seller really that pays, once the transaction closes. It's the seller that pays the realtor. So the seller's the one that bears the cost of the agent unless it's agreed upon otherwise. I've never seen a transaction, well, I take that back, but usually there's no transaction where you have to pay the buying agent, at least as the buyer, basically. So that's, just wanted people to know that, it's good to get representation. And now when you're getting free representation, basically, I mean, who really wouldn't want to do that?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because so many people, like you said, now are going on websites and they're trying to make deals.
Exactly.
And they're actually biting themselves in the tush for that exact reason, is because they think they can do it better. And I offer you, it's not happening. There's certain things that I have knowledge about and know how to work a deal that I could usually, and I say that right because you can't be indefinite, outsmart any salesperson or what we call them FSBOs, for sale by owner guys.
There you go. And then my next question, this is a deep question, and this is one of the hardest questions to answer. This is the question that the whole world wants to know. If we had a magic ball over here and we can just rub on it and it gives us the answer, it would be great. But I understand you might not have the answer to this question or might not know the right answer to this. But is there a recession coming?
Ooh, that is a question everyone is asking. Yes. So 2 things. 1, I'm not an economist. Yes. And I would say to you, I don't believe there is a recession coming. And we're talking about a housing recession is what you were asking me
Exactly.
about. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't believe so. And let me explain to you why I feel this way. Good, bad, or different, right? First time on the radio station. Hope you guys keep listening. I believe that we are growing in population right now in Chicago, period. We are losing people on the consensus.
Oh, yeah.
But renting buildings are going up, and they are 95% rented, which means we are increasing our numbers, not by people living here, staying here, and actually putting roots here, but they're living here, they're dwelling here, and they're in and out. Don't get me wrong. With that being said, if in fact you own a piece of real estate in the city limits, the idea is it's supply and demand. If we keep flooding our Chicago market with different companies that happen to be coming in, which they are. McDonald's just moved here, Amazon obviously just passed on us, but they're actually still in talks about coming back. There are a lot of companies, look it up guys, that are coming to Chicago and offering a lot of jobs. If that keeps happening, even on the rental side, and our rentals prices is, if anyone knows, are going up. Yeah, so good, bad, or indifferent on that. That's a different conversation. But I believe that the housing market here in Chicago will stay pretty steady, and the idea of a actual crash or a recession within it, I don't see it.
Got it. Now, if there is a recession, in the event that a recession just magically appears tomorrow, which, you know, usually in a recession there's many signs that come up.
You'll get on the radio and let them know it's coming if it comes.
Yes, I will.
Cool, awesome.
Absolutely. I will give you so many hints.
I'll be listening.
So many hints that a recession is coming, and a recession was supposed to be here like 3 years ago. But basically, the recession has not come yet, and according to many experts, the next recession will be the biggest recession in the history of the world. And I mean the most devastating recession ever. Do I believe it? Probably not. I mean, honestly, I don't think it, you know, as long as you prepare yourself. And with that being said, how does one prepare themselves for a recession? What are some steps that somebody can take other than paying attention to the obvious things? You know, what are some things that somebody can do in order to prepare for a recession, to at least live during a recession?
Yeah. That's a really deep, loaded question. That is, I don't even feel qualified to answer it, but I'll give an answer because I feel like I got to be, you know, this would be a question for someone, like, again, that plays with numbers all day long and it does that. And if you're talking about living through the recession, and when it happens, I don't think you're talking about a housing recession right now. What they predicted is you're talking about a total recession. You're
like just a straight wipeout of everybody.
Correct. So, well, a few things will happen. One, rents will come down because the landlords are going to realize they're all getting stiffed. Let's be completely honest. So those of you that own a 3-flat or 2-flat, you're gonna either say, hey, I'm gonna go with the times and I'll lower, or you're gonna just hold off and you'll be vacant for a little while. And that goes into
now
our last.
to really just a quick question on that though. If a recession happens and people can't buy, wouldn't that drive up the demand for rent?
No, that is 100% correct. And I'll even give you something else, guys. They have predicted that by the year 2023, which is not too far away, that there will be more corporately owned pieces of real estate in the city limits than actual individual homeowners.
Wow.
Right?
Man.
So just know that the banks are owning a lot of the rental properties, they're going to foreclosures, keeping them. So what can you do? I mean, again, that question is so loaded. What can you do to protect yourself from a recession? I would say, in essence, is what I have done. I would invest the right ways. You need to have backup for any. You need a rainy day fund. How does that sound?
Reserves.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
A reserve, a rainy day fund, whatever that may be, and you try not to live outside of your means. I mean, that would be it on the housing piece. I mean, don't rent, because if you rent, you own nothing. You have nothing to do, and you will be stuck renting. And then once that happens, where are you going? You're going to be pushed to an area you don't want to be in.
Now, what about Airbnb? Man, what if we're in a recession and you're like, you can't even pay off your mortgage, but you got that extra room laying around or extra 2 rooms? I mean, what about Airbnb as an option?
Airbnbs are awesome if you own the building. And even, again, I actually have 2 investors in my wheelhouse, in my cards, that actually only buy buildings here in the city that will allow them to Airbnb. And so there are still some of those small buildings where you can still even buy a condo and rent that out.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Airbnb is what's going to save a lot of people in the next recession. Because, you know, literally, Airbnb, platform that allows you to essentially rent a home, you know, not even just a home, a room, a section of a room. I mean, just like the tiniest space in the world, you can rent out on Airbnb and essentially pay off your mortgage with that. And I think that alone, you know, they say the biggest crisis that's coming up is the student loan crisis. Amen. Student loan crisis is what's going to cause the next recession. And the credit card crisis as well. Credit card debt is just atrocious right now. But essentially what they're saying, that's going to wipe out a lot of people. And what's going to save a lot of people, in my opinion, or some people who know how to do it right, is Airbnb. So I think Airbnb is one of the biggest ways in the future. And also we have, you know, gig economy. You drive, you turn on Uber, or you sign up for Uber, you punch on the app, and boom, you're working. So I think those gig type economies, those giggy type things, that's what I think is going to save the economy, if we do end up, in a recession.
The true hustlers. You talk about
Absolutely.
an entrepreneur spirit. The idea is if you're willing to outwork someone else, you will survive.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think also, too, I would say this, with the whole Airbnb thing, I think Airbnb is awesome, and unfortunately it is starting to become, fortunately or unfortunately, it is starting to become very regulated, especially in these major cities, Miami, Chicago, and all. But I do think that that's going to help out a lot of people, and the gig economy, I'm a big, huge proponent when it comes to the gig economy. I think that's going to save a lot of people. But I personally think there is a recession coming within the next 5 years.
Again, are you referring to a real estate recession or a recession for the human living and people?
I would say not just a real estate recession, but a total recession.
Recession.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, I hope for my own sake, I hope you're wrong. But again, yeah, if you could keep filling us in on how that looks and informing us, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason why I say it is because, for one, we can't just keep going up. What goes up usually must come down, but it can go right back up.
Right.
So we're long overdue. I mean, usually recessions about every 8 years or so, and now we're in a 10-year period. We're over 10 years now, where we haven't had that recession. We've had many recessions. We've had Brexit, for example. We had, when the president got elected, we had a recession that day.
We did.
And the stock market just tanked. Dow Jones just dropped. We've had other things that have happened. Greece, when they went bankrupt, Puerto Rico, that was back in 2015. And the Fed finally decided to start raising interest rates. The first time they did that was December of 2015, if I can recall. So we've had many recessions, and I think we're going to have more of that. But as far as like a big, gigantic recession, I do think within the next 5 years, and I don't think it's going to happen in 2 years, and not even in 3 years, but within the next 5 years, I do think something big might be coming. And that's just based off history. That's not based off, data that's out there right now. There's no data right now that shows that we're near a recession. But, when it comes to history, something has got to happen.
Yeah, something's got to give.
And that's the mysterious part that we'll find out. But when it comes to preparing yourself, as Josh said, please, it's great to own a home. Renters are usually not the winners when it comes to real estate or when it comes to wealth building.
Never.
So when you own a home, when you own something, and you're taking care of it, it's yours. You can control it. You can do anything to it. Most importantly, it's a financial benefit. It can be viewed as an asset if you're using it in the right way. It could be a liability, trust me, but it could be an asset if you're using it the right way. And then Airbnb, great strategy. And then also, having a rainy day fund is very important too. And just don't live outside or above your means. That's also very important. So as he mentioned,
can I chime in here?
Absolutely.
Also, when you have an investment property, again, you talk about the rainy day fund. A proper investor will not spend that money. They will hold on to it. Right? Don't go into this as you're making cash flow and use it as in like you're getting in a paycheck. Because as he mentioned to you, 27 years, the building will need maintenance. You will have to upgrade. You'll have to do things because things just break. That's life.
Exactly.
Again, so with that being said, as long as you invest and you do things right and you hold on to it, that's your rainy day fund. Someone else is building your rainy day fund, and it's so beautiful as long as you don't spend it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. And then, so once again, this is WJC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. This is the show Money Talks. My name is Jeff Badu. We're on Money Talks live on WJC 98.3 FM, where all we talk is money. If you do have any questions, we have about 10 more minutes or so. Please feel free to chime in on our Facebook Live or streaming live on my Facebook at Jeff Badu on Facebook. You can also call into the studio, 773-942-7167. Once again, 773-942-7167. And the last question for me, at least, of the day is, we did have a tax reform for the first time since 1986. We've had a tax reform. Somehow, some way, a lot of Americans don't know this. It was all over the news. It's been talked about. But we had a tax reform that changed a lot of things, especially the real estate, at least personal real estate. And some of the things that happened with the new tax reform is that they essentially limited the amount of state and local income and property taxes down to $10,000, even as a married couple. So if you own a big home and if you're making a decent amount of money, all you're limited to is $10,000 in state and local income and property taxes. And also, they did other things like, reduce the amount that you can claim on your mortgage. So if you own a house that's worth, or a mortgage that has over $750,000 or more in principal, then you're going to be limited. And then also, basically a lot of people aren't using itemized deductions or Schedule A anymore. So with that being said, Josh, like what's your thoughts on the whole new tax reform? I mean, do you like it? What would you say is your opinion when it comes to the new tax reform that happened?
Horrible. That's my opinion of it, for a few reasons. So I'll talk to those people that are in my position. I'm a 1099. I don't get a steady paycheck at all, right? The idea is that as I aid people and I put them into homes and I help them rent and just do my job, I get paid. And so with that being said, I have tax write-offs. That is very limiting. Also, an owner of multiple pieces of real estate, that also is a factor, because on the second piece, third piece, fourth piece, as you go up past the first one, it also limits me as well, because you can't write off any of it unless you're actually renting it. Like, I can no longer have a vacation home and use those tax write-offs.
Exactly.
So I think that's hindrance on a lot of ends for a lot of people that are out there. And the biggest hitters that are getting, hit the biggest is if you make over $500,000.
Yep.
Right? So I know it's not the majority of the world, but there are still plenty of people out there doing it. And so I don't like it at all. I don't understand where it actually came from. I've done a lot of research on it. It sounds like you have as well. But I'm not understanding of where that came from and how it helps anybody other than holding someone else down in general. Yeah.
And I think, so I'll answer that question. I personally don't believe that they should have done what they did with personal real estate. The fact that you're limiting people to $10,000 in state and local income and property taxes, even for married couples. And then the fact that the mortgage, and then also HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, are no longer tax deductible on the interest side, at least if you're using them for personal reasons. Now let me just not defend, but let me justify why some things like that might have happened. For one, this is called the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. You're looking to cut taxes and create jobs. So the tax law only benefits two people and two people only. Those who own businesses and hire people, and those who own real estate and provide it for others. So I think what the government is trying to do, at least a sensible government, which, I can't comment on that or provide opinion on that.
No.
But a sensible government who's thinking straight would say that, okay, well, we created this whole tax law or tax code to incentivize people to buy homes in order to lease it to other people. So if we're providing the benefits to those who don't, then they're probably going to be doing as such. So I think what they're trying to do is that they're trying to encourage people to move from a Schedule A to a Schedule E, meaning they're trying to move people from homeowners into home investors. So essentially, they still want you to own the home, but they don't want you to own a big home. They don't want you to own a home that's massive, over $750,000 in loans, basically. For one, they're probably trying to minimize the debt a little bit, by limiting how much you can have on a loan of your home in order to write off the interest. So they're probably they're saying, okay, the debt was just too high. People are too much in debt. So they're probably trying to reduce that. But what they're really trying to do is they're trying to encourage people to take the buildings and basically turn them into rentals so they can provide it to other people. Because as we may know, there's no tax benefits for a renter. There's literally none. As a renter, on a federal level at least. I know Indiana and some states somehow they provide you incentives for renting a place, but a government like this, I would say the reason why they're not allowing people to write off a lot of things anymore is because they want you to actually invest, become an investor, so you can actually provide housing to other people, so that those people get houses. So I think that was the rationale, and that's why businesses like Amazon, for example, didn't pay any taxes in 2018, because they're creating jobs, they're hiring people, and Amazon also owns real estate. So I don't like it personally. I don't like the fact that they took it away from homeowners and all that. But as an investor, that makes me want to become more of an investor as opposed to a homeowner. Although I'm still going to be a homeowner, I'm never probably going to rent another day in my life when it comes to long-term real estate. But I think it really encourages people to say, okay, I got this building, let me Airbnb it. That's what I'm telling my clients. Let me, instead of just living here, let me get some of those deductions on my Airbnb, on my Schedule E. Or let me turn it into a long-term rental. Let me go out and buy some rental properties so I can create housing for others so that they can find a place to live and work some jobs. So, just that's really my take when it comes to that. So, with that being said, we are unfortunately out of time. Thank you all for tuning in to WJC 98.3 FM. Josh, it's been an honor, a pleasure to be able to have you on the show. We appreciate the insight. My listeners are very greatly appreciated. With that being said, any last words? If you also want to share your contact information so that people can, buy some real estate through your company, just a little spiel.
Yeah, well, listen, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you need any help, obviously buying, selling, investing, or even leasing here in the city of Chicago, please, 312-927-5160, 312-927-5160 is the office number. Ask for Joshua. I'll be happy to help. And one thing for Jeff here, as you guys listen to him, realize that success is rented, or is not owned. It is rented. So you gotta pay for it. So know that. Keep working hard. Keep doing what you gotta do. Keep being that entrepreneur. Any job you have, do it well, and you'll move up.
Absolutely. We definitely appreciate those kind words, sir. And once again, thank you all for tuning in to WJC 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. My name is Jeff Badu, and I look forward to continuously